Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This of course is another anime reaction video. Today, we are getting into some more Gintama. Finally, we get into that 5-episode arc, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. And this is kind of a big deal because this will be the, second longest arc so far? Because the longest one was the Yagyu arc, which was 6 episodes. And now we have a 5-episode arc, which... First of all, it's kind of a big deal because this is the first, really long arc after we get to the 100 episode mark. No, this literally is the first one because there was 98 and 99, then there was 100, which was by itself, and then there's 101 to 105. So this is the very first really long, arc after getting past the 100 episode mark. So that's kind of crazy to think about. Man. I hopefully won't have to deal with too many interruptions because the longer these videos are, the more likelihood of interruptions happening. But I'm really, either way, super excited to get into these 5 episodes, mostly because in episode 100 we've got a bit of a sneak peek at what might be coming up ahead in the story through the new opening. Well, the new opening, the new ending. Because the new opening... I mean, I'm not saying there will be, but there was Takasugi and there was Sunpo. They were both in the opening. Then there was also what I assume to be some kind of Shinsengumi member, but with sort of curly blonde hair. And he was by himself. He wasn't with any of the other Shinsengumi members, which has me curious as to what's going to happen. And then there was the whole ED. The ED had a ton of younger versions of characters we already know and love. Literally, they went through every character and showed, the younger version of themselves. Even Elizabeth. Elizabeth is always, it's always going to be one of the enigmas of, the Gintama-verse. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it the Gintama-verse. And so seeing, a small, baby version of, Elizabeth walking side by side with, a parental figure. I don't know if that was just a gag they came up with for the ED, or if they're legitimately going to go into Elizabeth's past on another planet, even though... It was kind of revealed, gosh, way back in episode 15, that it was a person in a costume. Maybe not necessarily a human, but it was a person in a costume, and then we just never brought it up again. And I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to Elizabeth backstory, but either way, this is really exciting. Talking too long. I need to get into the episode now. Episode 101 of Gintama. I don't even know what I just said. Episode 101 of Gintama. Oh, you know what? Why the hell not? Might as well. Not a huge thing, but recently a whole bunch of stuff that I ordered but was on back order for a while finally came in. So I finally got volumes 22 and 23 of Gintama. Of course I'm not going to read these because there's definitely going to be spoilers, but I have a bit more Gintama manga than I had before since the last time I showed off some of the Gintama manga I have. And 23 is the last one they had. Still missing a bunch. And you can see my Gintama figures right there where my hand is. They're there. That's cool. Anyway, I'm gonna get to the episode now. Almost got caught by that. Alright, this is a really interesting startup to an arc. There's so many places this could go, but the idea that I'm thinking of right now is because they're already setting up Hijikata's fall from being the vice commander, which by the way, speaking of well, that doesn't really fit. But by Ito's hand. By Ito's hand. Speaking of Ito, if I can find him, that would be very nice. Oh, I don't remember his full name. Gintama Ito. I just need to know his name. Kamotaro. Yeah, there he is. Ito Kamotaro. Voiced by Mitsuaki Madono. Does he voice anyone I recognize? I just want to check. He voices... Wait, no! He voices Kon in Bleach? Oh my god. Maybe it's because Kon is such a goofy character and we haven't actually... There hasn't been a goofy side to this Ito yet. But that's so funny. Oh, Ogi and Code Geass. No, these aren't characters that are... These characters don't sound very serious very often, so I can't actually hear... I can't hear they share a voice, but... Kamotaro... Yeah, no, I don't recognize him. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, he was, Shiro. The hooded guy in, Assassination Classroom. I don't remember what he sounds like. Oh, Adachi in Persona 4. Interesting. Wait, what? Oh, wait, no, never mind. That's just the English dub. Where the main character and Adachi of Persona 4 both voiced by Johnny Young Bosch. Yeah, honestly, not don't recognize his voice, but he's a fucking snake, man. I wonder if I'm gonna be wrong and I'm gonna end up being really sad by the end of this arc because he only apparently appears in regular Gintama, but I don't know how it's happening, but he's really setting up. Watch, he's gonna end up being like one of the most like noble characters ever. Like even though he's being a total piece of shit towards Hijikata, getting his ass fired and taken away from his position for whatever reason. I presume because he was talking some mad shit about the previous government, or the government that's currently happening right now. Like what was he saying specifically? We cannot stay smoldering in our current position. We have to move forward. Because he said, yeah, because he's mentioning that with people in power, people like that in power, the country will be destroyed. He's 100% gonna try and like start up a coup d'état and take over the government because he thinks he's better for this country. And whether or not he is left to be seen. But still, even what's interesting is even before we really, at least until I like fully came to understand that what's happening to Hijikata is most likely completely Ito's fault. They had that scene where they were talking about how they hated each other. They had that intense look in their eyes. That is crazy. But what I wanted to say in regards to, because Sogo obviously won't believe Hijikata, and once Ito's machinations are fully in effect, I think almost no one will believe Hijikata. They spent a lot of time in this episode dedicated to Hijikata acting very different than he normally does. So it's going to be like, oh, that's not the guy I used to know. Why am I going to follow him? We should get this new guy who clearly knows how to take charge and is respected by Kondo. He should be the boss. And then he's going to slowly phase Kondo out of his position and become the only commander. And then he's going to keep rising up until he can lead this country. Or maybe what he's going to do is become the complete and total. He has absolute control over everybody in the Shinsengumi, whether because of his position or because everybody just trusts him and believes in his cause so much, and then he's going to start a fucking rebellion. That's what my prediction is. I might be completely off base, but that is my prediction for the time being. And I think the only person that might believe Hijikata after he gets run out of the Shinsengumi, because either he's just going to get kicked out, like he's going to be like discharged, whether honorably or dishonorably, or he's going to be ordered to commit seppuku, and he's going to run away from that. And he's going to be seen as like some kind of like fugitive. Well, yeah, fugitive, because he's not following the strict laws that he set, and then he's not taking punishment for the laws he broke, and he just needs to run away long enough to prove that he was being manipulated by Ito, and at some point he's going to have to go to Yorosuya Ginchan to get help from them. And at first they're probably not going to believe them, but eventually they're going to come to his side and help him out. And then by the end, things are going to be okay. And that's kind of what the idea I have for this is right now. I could be entirely wrong, but it's really interesting the way that Hijikata brought up the idea of the two-headed snake, or like the snake with two heads. Yeah, when a snake has two heads, either one side will die, or they will be cut in half because of their struggle, or they will break apart and they will both die. And what's interesting about that is that it goes in direct contrast with the idea that two heads are better than one. Now, obviously, that's not literally. Like having two people working on a single product or project is better than having only one person. But just like taking that idea that a snake having two heads would be very detrimental, as opposed to the idea that having, like two heads, it doesn't really make that much sense. Never mind. It's really an interesting idea, because it's almost like, even though he doesn't have like a full scope of the ideas of what Ito has going on, it's very interesting that he already sees what's going on with what Ito is doing. And it just sucks that Kondo doesn't believe him. especially when uh, Hijikata has such like high regard, holds him in such high regards. You know what I mean? But I wonder what Sogo's gonna be in this arc, because I loved Sogo after the Mitsuba arc, but I just hope he doesn't become a totally terrible like asshole-ish person, because and I think it's just because it's against Hijikata that he's fine with whatever Ito is doing. But that evil smug smile. I love smug anime faces, but like in this situation, Sogo, come on, man. Because he'll probably keep you around for a long time. Now that I think about it, if Ito ends up taking over, he'll probably keep Sogo around, because not only is he a useful asset in getting rid of and keeping out Hijikata specifically, he could probably use his tricks and his sadistic nature to keep out other people that Ito doesn't want around, you know what I mean? But I'd watch yourself, Sogo. If he ever finds you a threat, he might try and phase you out too. I don't know. I just need to get to the next episode 102, so that's what I'm gonna go do now. Yeah, just preview. Oh, alright. Fuck. Adding further tension onto this, which, by the way, oh, gotta love the, I love how they introduced, because I knew at some point Hijikata was gonna be going to, Yorozuya and meeting with Gintoki and the lot to discuss getting help from him. But first of all, I was not expecting his personality to fully change, and I was not expecting the otaku talk show even. And that's what I just love about Gintama so much. That's one of the best parts of Gintama, is that even when you can predict what's going to happen next, you never know how you're going to get there. Because I could tell that was going to happen with Hijikata going to Yorozuya for help. But I did not see him going there to help under the pretense of now being like a full-on NEET. Which, by the way, I love that, because the only other cursed sword we've really ever seen in the series has been the Benizakura. So we're getting introduced to another cursed sword, but this one's the complete opposite. Can you imagine if they thought they were getting, if Nizo, the blind samurai, he thought he was getting his hands on the Benizakura, but he accidentally picked up the Muramasa, I believe, Mura something or other. Let me check that real quick. Yeah, the Muramasha. Like how differently the Benizakura arc would be if Nizo picked up the Muramasha instead of the Benizakura. Oh. I just love like the political thriller aspect where there's like how do I put it? What's like an example I can give? It's not really similar, but Attack on Titan, the first half of Attack on Titan season 3, just like the political intrigue of the humans fighting each other instead of the Titans is so. It's such an interesting concept and it's such an interesting way to take it, and that's kind of like gone to its logical step forward in the first half of the final season. Which, by the way, I'm really excited for the second half of the final season. Excuse me. Don't know why they have to do part 1 and part 2, and then just instead of just calling them, like instead of season 3 and season 3 part 2, just call it season 3 and season 4, and then instead of the final season part 1 and 2, just call it season 5 and 6. It's not that hard, but whatever. I guess the Japanese want to be real weird about everything, but it makes more sense in the Haikyuu's case. But that's not the point. The point is, fuck, if Yamazaki's dead, that's actually genuinely sad. He's one of like the nicest guys. Like he's a pretty like straightforwardly nice guy. As far as we know, he's never done anything bad in the past. He's not currently doing anything bad. You know, he's like pretty well adjusted for the most part, and it's gonna suck to see one of those like the really good people in this world just to go out like that. Fuck you, Ito. I hope you know what they could do, like what they did with Katsura in the Benizakura arc. He appears to help closer to the climax of the arc, but fucking Ito's snakehead ass. And see, the problem is, on one hand, Ito's kind of a snake and I don't like him yet, but on the other hand, he could turn out to be not so bad, you know what I mean? Because there have been snake-like characters in series that I've turned out that I like at the very end, you know what I mean? So I'm both kind of interested to see how that'll go and really like kind of upset now that I think about it, because I don't want to like Ito right now. He's an asshole. But I'm really excited to see, what was his name? Called him Bonsai? I'll still call him Tsunfor for now, because that's the name I mostly know him by. But one of the parts of this episode that I really loved was that bit where Hijikata, where he said, "I came back for one smoke." Oh, if that ain't one of like the coldest one-liners, like ever. That was so good, and it wasn't even like during a super dramatic moment. But when we learned that we might never see the regular Hijikata again, which I don't believe, we got to see him more. He's like one of the integral characters. He's at this point, he's like part of the main cast. Let's go by Dorohedoro rules. If they have like a certain amount of screen time, they count as main characters, because Dorohedoro has like 10 main characters, at least according to my anime list, because they all get like equal amounts of screen time. A lot of characters get a lot of screen time in this. We got a lot of main characters in Gintama. We cannot lose Hijikata's personality. He's got to come back. He's got to come back and have a badass moment like he did in the Mitsuba arc. But that line, after hearing that we potentially will never see the Hijikata we once knew and love again. I came back for one last smoke. Ugh. That was good. That was good, Hijikata. You're kind of a goof with your fucking mayonnaise obsession, your fucking mayonnaise fetish, but I gotta give it to you, man. That was a good one. And Shinpachi, I think, said it best. Like, it's clearly very serious if Hijikata was willing to put aside his pride just to ask for help for somebody else, especially because we kind of learned about the kind of person he was and like continues to be in the Mitsuba arc when we got some flashbacks of when they were younger with Mitsuba. And man, okay, I can't believe, even if it does happen, I still won't believe that he's gone, because like Gintama could really hit me in that feels by saying, nope, Hijikata's gone. He won't be the guy you knew before for a long time, maybe even not ever, and that will genuinely kind of hurt, you know. But you know what? Remembering that scene in the Shinsengumi patrol vehicle where they were on the radio, Gintoki might actually be trying to get into that train. But so it looks like we got, I think, going back to that badass moment with Kondo, absolute Chad gets threatened, has this whole like villain speech like told to him. It's that Sigma grind set meme or whatever, is lectured by Beta about colors and dyes of like cloth and shit, laughs in his face. I love that so much. Kondo, that like a hint, not even a hint of hesitation, laughs in his face. Oh, you stupid bitch. I've got people on my side who are completely loyal. They're like dirt. They never leave. And what a legend. And even though they're technically outmatched, Sogo is 100% stronger than like all of Ito's like cronies, especially because they're no-name mooks going up against my boy Sogo. And you think they've got a chance. And that serious look on Sogo's face. You haven't seen that kind of face since the Mitsuba arc. And then, it's gonna be so cool. Can't wait. Sucks that I have to stop recording for today, but again, you won't notice the difference. So, but I mean, that's pretty much all I say about this episode. Really great episode. And okay, so it's definitely a good thing that I decided to, or I at least had a bunch of uploads ready before I started recording this, because I ended up having to wait 2 days in between now and the last time I recorded, because I had a sore throat and I didn't want to like exacerbate things by talking for like an hour and a half while I record the last 3 episodes. Hopefully I can get the last 3 episodes done in one session, but yeah. So no matter what, right at this moment, we're getting into episode 103 of Gintama. I'm really excited to see what happens next in this arc. It's been a very interesting one so far, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna get into that now. Oh my god, there wasn't even that much action in this episode, but it's just like the emotional speeches we got from both Sogo and Hijikata were beautiful, and it's just. See, I almost want to say in all seriousness, am I watching the right show? Because this is so different from normal Gintama. But I can't in good conscience completely ask that question, because there's still those goofy moments, and there is, and like this emotional like stories and writing and like character moments that is Gintama too, because we've seen those happen even before this arc. So I don't know how Sorachi does it, but he's gotten me so invested in this, and it's like this is the second serious arc that focuses on the Shinsengumi and their relationships, and I almost want to say it's weird because it's just like the second, not necessarily in a row, because the last one wasn't too long ago, was it? It was the Mitsuba arc where we focused on the past of the three of them, Hijikata, Kondo, and Sogo, and their sort of relationships, and that was beautiful. And what I really like about this arc specifically is because it kind of complements that, because we learn more about their past and how they became who they are and their relationships, and specifically how their relationships relate to Mitsuba, who is obviously Sogo's younger sister. I forget which one. I'm pretty sure older. Yeah, older. Uh, and now we're getting to see their relationship, like with all that context in mind, because the Mitsuba arc hit because it was exploring the past of these characters that we've known for a while, but we didn't really know about their past or whatever. We just saw their relationship through the lens of like comedy. So we're seeing we're reevaluating their relationship, and we're finally learning about their past, and we're using that to reevaluate their relationship in a more serious way, and then we're taking that understanding of them, their past, and like that reevaluation of their relationships that was presented to us in a serious way, and we're just going further with it. We're doing more with it, and it's such a smart idea. And I don't know how it was structured in the manga, because it was like, I forget how many episodes ago it was. I have to go check real quick, since the Mitsuba arc. But it definitely, watching it weekly, it would have felt like it would kind of sucked, if I had to watch the show weekly, and I would have just had been waiting. Because let me check. Which I'm going insane. Because the last serious arc would have been, I think that would have been with Hasegawa, with his court case. Yeah, because the Mitsuba arc, oh wow, that was almost, that was like 14 episodes ago. Wow, that's crazy. I can't imagine having to wait like 14 weeks to get this like extension of like getting more of these interactions after all of after that deeper understanding of these characters. I almost said as people, because I genuinely kind of, it's one of those things where they're written in a way where they feel like real people, and I love that so much. It's hard. It's almost hard to describe just like the genius behind Sorachi's writing with these characters. I don't know how he does it, but he's done a really good job with this, and so far, shaping up to be one of my favorite serious arcs in the series so far, because in a lot of ways it's a bit more grounded in reality, so to speak. It's a bit more realistic, and you can interpret that sort of phrasing in any way you want, and it's a lot more, how do I describe it, because it's kind of like the Mitsuba arc in some way, because the Benisakura arc was definitely very fantastical, with all the space pirates and the demolishing of a country and shit like that. And these have some similar aspects to it, with Ito wanting to seemingly just get rid of take over and become a strong power type thing. But it's in a way it's also similar to the Mitsuba arc, where it's more about the characters themselves and how they go through this, instead of how the events of the the main conflict of the story will affect the country, sort of way. You know what I mean? That's less of the focus of this arc, and I think that has to do with Takashi being one of the main focuses of the Benizakura arc, because it is the first time in a while we've seen him, and now he's putting plans into motion type thing. But because all things considered, Ito is just kind of the catalyst for this development in the Shinsengumi's relationships. You know what I mean? He himself is not really a character, so to speak. He's more just Yeah, I think I said explained it right the first time. More like a catalyst for how this story takes place. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm just curious to see what his like relationship with Tsunpo or Banzai or whatever, and Takasugi, the Kiheitai, one of those words, because I'm just curious to see how they'll go together. You know what I mean? Uh, I don't think we're gonna get it yet, but I would love to see, because I said it in the actual reaction, but somehow, despite not really doing anything, so to speak, yet, not in terms of like like he hasn't had very many huge like moments in terms of like speaking or like fighting, even though he's been implied to be a very strong person when it comes to fighting, like in the Penny Sakura arc, when he was talking about how he wanted to fight Gintoki and Katsura at some point because they seemed strong. I don't know if it'll happen yet, but I because I had to wait a long time to get more Takasugi in the Penny Sakura arc, and it's been a while since we've seen him again, and we haven't even seen him yet in this arc. But we're seeing Sunpo. Is it going to be another one of those cases where I'm going to have to wait even longer to get those things? And again, I'm perfectly fine waiting because I'm still enjoying my ride with Gintama, but it's just, it would be cool if we got to see at least a little bit of what Tsunpo is capable of. Like we've seen, because Yamazaki didn't put up very much of a fight. As sad as much as it sucks to say that, because I do like Yamazaki. He's not my favorite like supporting character because he hasn't had that much development. I do like him, and I really started liking him in the sort of one of the like the more epilogue-y episodes right after the Benny Sakura arc, when he was when he was trying to gather information on why people seemed to like Gintoki so much and like hang around him so much. So I don't. We really haven't seen the extent of what Sunpo can do, at least at this point in the show. If all he did was kill Yamazaki, because that's, all things considered, isn't much of a feat, as sucky as it kind of sounds to say out loud. But man, ugh, just like that bit with Sogo, with you are who you are. That was beautiful, and I hope we get to see Kondo be more badass in the future. Obviously, I loved him like laughing in Ito's face, like, "Oh, you think you won? No, you fucking idiot! You haven't even come close to winning." That was beautiful, but we haven't totally seen, like, I want to see Kondo be like super strong in something and like show people up. Like people always underestimate people. Like, especially people like who watch the show 100% like probably underestimate Kondo because he's just like the goofy gorilla like comic relief side character type thing. And I pointed that out earlier, and that's why I loved seeing him, or I that's why I felt like I was watching a different show, because that same Kondo who got married to a gorilla for political reasons is now giving is causing tears to well up in my eyes with this fucking speech. I can't believe it, but it would be cool to see him fight, because he is the commander. And if it's just because he has this weird charisma around him, despite it being completely unintentional with his buffoonery, you know what I mean? He's got to have he's got to be at least a little bit strong enough to justify him being, the commander or the captain or whatever. But either way, one last thing, because I've been talking for a while about this episode, but that scene where Sogo absolutely massacred everyone in the train car. We haven't seen Ito fight, but if he were in that room, he probably would have been dead too. Because that was crazy. That was probably one of the most like brutal, like gory scenes in Gintama. That was insane. But that's pretty much all I had to say about this episode. I need to get to the next episode. If not just because I said I really wanted to get to the next episode, that's why I skipped the ED. But then I spent I don't know how long talking. I spent nearly 10 minutes, I think, talking about this episode. I don't know if that for sure. It'll probably be slightly shorter than that when I edit out any really long pauses or something, but I need to get to the next episode now. Ugh, I'm debating on whether or not I want to skip the OP, because the OP is so good. It's so good. But I really want to see what happens next, because they really left me on a cliffhanger last episode. But I'm still talking, even though I keep saying I need to stop talking and just watch the episodes. I'm gonna go do that now. Really? That's how we're gonna end the goddamn episode. Really? We're doing this? This is how this is gonna go? Jesus Christ, show. Why would you do this to me? So, first of all, this plan of theirs should, in all likelihood, completely like have huge ramifications on things going forward. If this were anything but Gintama, I'm sure there might be references to it, but I don't feel like everything after like episode 105 or whatever, because that's the last episode, obviously, of this arc, will be directly related to this. Maybe they'll bring it up later, but the fact that they're bringing that up, that was their plan this whole time, is just to engineer this situation so they can have as much of the members of the Shinsengumi as possible killed each other. Is just so insane to me. But then that makes sense. That makes sense. That is a good idea if that's how they want to go forward with Takazuki's plan to take down the government or whatever. That's to manipulate its forces into getting into infighting. Because not only does that like involve a lot of casualties that'll make it a lot easier to take over when the time is right, it also it makes it so that the government that controls, the law enforcement is a bit more wary when it comes to, things regarding it. Maybe they'll give them less budget, maybe they'll change up leadership. And that can be another avenue of them helping to take over the government or destroy the government, whatever, by picking somebody that will directly contribute to their plans in the future. So it's really interesting how that's how their plan went. And by the way, speaking of Tsunpo, because he was the one who was explaining that, I know I'm getting what I asked for, and that being seeing Tsunpo in a fight with Gintoki, and this is kind of what I was hoping for, because he's definitely a decent match for Gintoki. He's pretty good. Not as strong as I thought he would be, but to be fair, this is definitely not going to be the last we've seen of him. 100% it's not. Because Gintoki isn't even actively fighting him. He's just trying to get past him so he can go help his people. Gintoki did, like, hit him with the tip of his Bokuto and smash him through, like, the front of a goddamn helicopter, which is insane, by the way. That's crazy. But it's... I need more. And the thing is maybe we're gonna see more of them fight. But the thing is, if we are, like, I can't think of very many like huge fights other than maybe seeing Tsunpo and Gintoki fight again, or maybe seeing Hijikato or somebody else fight Tsunpo, because Hijikato would probably be pretty pissed if he found out that him, Tsunpo, and Takazuki were manipulating Ito to directly try and get him to do all of these things for their own, like, agenda or whatever. But either way, come on, just one more really cool fight scene. Play the OP in the background, please. That's all I want. That's all I need, and this will officially be my second favorite series arc in Gintama so far. My first still being the Mitsuba arc. That one was a really good one. Then probably the Fuyo arc is underneath. It's... As of right now, Mitsuba, Fuyo, and then I need to find. That's something I might do at the end. Ugh, never mind. I'll figure something out in the future, or maybe I won't. I don't know. But this could very well be my one of my all-time favorite series arcs based on what's happened so far. But if they also give me that fight with the OP playing in the background, definitely top 5 at bare minimum. By the end of the series, maybe it will stay there, maybe it won't. But was kind of expecting there to be more development on Ito as a character, because he felt pretty underdeveloped up to this point. So I'm definitely glad we got something, and in an unexpected turn, they have completely explained why he thinks the way he does, and why he's in the situation in the first place, and why he tried what he did with becoming the new commander of the Shinsengumi. I get it. I don't agree with it, and I still don't like him because of the fact he tried to do it. But I get it. I get it. I get why he did it. I get why he is the way he is, and I appreciate that we got that at all, even though I still don't like him. It's definitely not too little, too late, and I can see myself starting to well up a little bit with tears if they have an emotional moment, because he's definitely dead. He's got shot up a bunch, but he's not completely dead yet because the episode ended. But I could see myself starting to tear up a little bit over him, just because just because it's one of those things where it's like, even though he should still 100% be held responsible for his actions and what he did, and that's why I still don't like him, I think a large part of why it ended up the way it did is because of the way the world basically dealt him a shitty hand. He didn't really have much say in the matter. He was just constantly beaten down by the world and the universe at every step of the way, and he was just trying to figure his way out and try and get what he wanted in his own way. And the thing is the thing he wanted was just like, it's something where in the moment you look at it and it's like, oh, it's so insignificant, it doesn't matter. But to him, because he didn't get the attention that seems so insignificant when you get it, because he didn't get it, it was basically destroying his whole world, and it shaped him into who he is. And now, like, when you look at him now, in hindsight, it's like, yeah, you're right, maybe he should have got more attention. But all of the people in his past it would have been pretty hard for any of those people to realize that. And I think that's like, it's one of those commentaries on real life. Don't wait until, somebody kills themselves to preach about mental health. You need to just like talk to people. It's easier said than done. But just ignoring it, something like as little as talking to people and being nice to them or whatever, just waiting until something bad happens to be like, it only takes a little bit to prevent this, it seems a bit, not hypocritical, but like you're not doing enough, as bad as that might sound. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird situation. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore at this point. I feel like I've gone on a rant that I am not well equipped to talk about, so I hope nobody tries to debate me in the comments or something, because I cannot give a good argument. I'm just an idiot online, trying to explain the way I feel about a certain thing that happens in the episode, you know what I mean? I mean, come on. I'm trying, even if it's not good. I love watching this show, and this has nothing to do with what I was talking about previously. I'm getting into the last episode of this arc. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. That's gonna be interesting, but for now, the end of the, I guess we could call it Ito arc, because that was mainly what this whole thing was about, was like Ito. I have to really commend Sorachi. I don't know how he does it, but he keeps finding like new and interesting and really well done ways to tell not the same story, but to tell stories where the main theme is, like family or bonds, or like like groups of people that are unconventional and dysfunctional but still can come together and have really strong, indescribable like bonds, invisible bonds that it's hard to describe, because they mention that in this arc. I don't know how he does it. Sorachi always manages to figure out how to take that concept and like use it multiple times. It sounds like a bad thing, me saying that he keeps using the same thing over and over again. The main theme was, bonds and family, but genuinely, he's able to make it fresh and unique every time. Each time he's done it, not only has it gotten like better with each time he's done a serious arc with that, it's also it's done in unique, in different ways. It's like they're very like, even if you wanted to argue like the main theme of this arc and the Benny Zakura arc is like similar, or like this arc and like the Mitsuba arc, in terms of like themes, it's similar in that family aspect or whatever. It's just the execution and like the specific ideas and like how it plays out and the specific character development in them is so different and so unique every time. I don't know how he does it, but just like knowing how each series arc has gotten better than the last, except for in the case of the Mitsuma arc. I still think that's my favorite arc, a series arc so far, which is crazy because that was like 2 episodes and it was amazing. But generally, like overall, it's gotten each series arc has gotten better than the last. And you're telling me that this series is going to keep that up for the rest of the series? You're kidding me. Because I don't think I can handle that. Because I was starting to get a little bit emotional there. You know, I haven't full on cried yet because I haven't full on cried for anime very often. I've gotten very close a few times. Gurren Lagann, I mentioned it when I was talking about good anime that had like that use openings during the opening for like a climactic fight. You know, fucking multiple times watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I've almost cried. Hunter x Hunter. This show is getting closer and closer to making me full on cry. Because the Mitsuba arc almost made me cry. Parts of this almost made me cry. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're fucking getting there. God damn it. I think it's appropriate for Ito to die, by the way. I think that was an appropriate end to him as a character. They could have kept him around and have had him like be redeemed and have him included in more serious arcs, you know. But I think it's very thematically appropriate that he goes out this way because even though, again, like I said, I completely get where he's coming from in how he became who he is and why he was doing this stuff, I still don't like him, and his crimes obviously can't be forgiven. Just because I understand where he's coming from doesn't mean it's okay that he did the things he did because of the way he was, you know, he grew up, you know what I mean? So, but he did a good job. His role in this arc was really well done, and they're setting up more things with Takasugi and Bonsai, or Sunpo. I'm gonna keep calling him Sunpo because Sunpo sounds like a cooler name. Bonsai is also alright, but at the risk of spoiling myself, I'm gonna try not to, but I'm gonna look up Gintama Sunpo because Kawakami Bonsai, that's a pretty cool name, Kawakami Bonsai, but Sunpo I feel like is more recognizable for the most part, because they've only recently really started referring to him as Bonsai, because before he was mostly referred to as Sunpo, I believe. Yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but who knows. It'll be interesting to see how his character plays out, because it seems almost like he's like Niso as a character. Like back in the Benizakura arc, he wasn't fully committed to he wasn't necessarily fully committed to Takasugi's ideals about what he wanted to do with the country. It was more so that he was following, you know, that light, you know, ironically, because he was blind or whatever. And so it's almost like him and Sunpo are similar in that way, where they're not, it's not the ideals that drive them, it's the people that are committed to those ideals that interests them. It's their songs that interests them in Sunpo's case. And it's going to be interesting to see how it goes forward, because I'm interested in that sort of analogy of analyzing people through songs, seeing how they move and analyzing that as their rhythm and like the rhythm of their soul. It's like a really fun little aesthetic to like that they can play with in the future. And all I'm saying is, once we get to see like the climactic fight that closes Tsunpo's like character development or something, if they have that in the future, or like the fight that they have in a future serious arc where they finally beat him and like kill him or something, it better have some banging music playing in the background, is all I'm saying. Like if we get an arc where he takes more of a center stage, Tsunpo does, better be good music. And I don't just mean, you know, the OSTs we've heard before in Gintama. New music that's fucking straight up banging. You know, obviously we're gonna have to use that one song again, the piano. Gonna have to use that again. You can't not have a serious Gintama arc and not include that song somewhere, because it's just so perfect, you know. But man, great arc. Really excited to get into more Gintama. When's the next like long stretch of like series arc? Because just finished 101 to 105, but then there's 107 to 108. Whether or not that's going to be ending up being like a serious thing, or it's just like a comedic thing that's like a two-parter, like with the OA. The next one, 15, 16, 17, 18, the next 4-episode arc, which is like another longer arc, if that's serious, that'll be interesting. Either way, I am as excited as always to continue watching Gintama. I do hope all of you watching, and maybe anybody new, will keep joining me in that journey, you know what I mean? If you watched all the way to this point, thank you so very much for watching. This has probably been a long one, much like the Benizaka arc was a really long one. Despite being 4 episodes, the discussions alone were almost like an hour, I think. I don't know how long this is going to be, but especially because I don't know if I'll be able to also include the episodes on YouTube. I'll really try, but this is going to be probably maybe like a 2.5 to 3 hour long video. That's going to be a pain in the ass to keep re-rendering just to make sure the copyright doesn't fuck me, you know what I mean? But where was I? If you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already, and why not subscribe and hit this notification bell so you don't miss a single upload in the future. It's completely free, and it helps me a lot. Thank you once again for watching. Peace.